So we're here with Casey Dean. This is the extended interview. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who need a little refresher, Casey Dean is the co-creator of Monster Dedux, as well as the co-founder of the gaming studio Pocket Pulp. So, Casey, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was your partner. That can take a lot of effort to kind of collaborate on different creative ideas and to also kind of find each other's like niches and how you play off of each other. Did you kind of want to elaborate on that journey that you guys had and how you guys continue to collaborate together?
So I joke that we are two peas in very opposite ends of the pod because we are complete opposites as far as the way that we think and the way that we process. Um, I'm ADHD, so I vocalize a lot of my ideas before they're finished. It's how I process things. I also change gears a lot and shift around. And he's much more focused and tends to think things through before presenting them or wanting to take the next step or even feeling strong about them. And those two things together work really well. So, taking Monster Dedux, for example, he had the general idea of the puzzle and how it was going to work. And I brought in the idea of, it being the storyline behind the monsters under the bed. So we balance each other out and we come together really, really well. There's still always things that we have to talk about. Finding a way for us to organize together was interesting. So we could both stay focused and know what's going on with the other one's projects. So that was an interesting thing to do. But yeah, we got there. And he's an excellent communicator, and that's super important. So we just keep that dialogue open constantly. So for example, right now he's working on something.
So I believe you had already stated that Homeboy was a real hardcore introvert, right? But he's a great communicator. So he's an excellent communicator. It just really depends on who he wants to communicate with at the time, right?
Poor him. He is a fantastic communicator. He does really well with people. He works hard at it. He knew at a young age he was an introvert, and so he worked hard on how to be able to be in social situations, to be comfortable and feel that he still fits in and stuff. But it's very difficult for him. But because of that personality that has, something about it really attracts people, and everybody loves him, and everybody always wants to talk to him. It's very funny. You will meet him. He'll probably do one of these when we get a little bit farther into some of the video games. But yeah, it's funny. He's definitely complex.
All right. So, one of the things that I love talking to you about is how multifaceted and how just willing to try stuff you are. Like, so, two big things for you are health, wellness, yoga, and I'm sure there are other things, of course, too. And then we've got gaming and nerdery, pretty much. So those, like health especially, does not typically go with the nerd thing. So would you say that you started off more on one inclination of the spectrum or another, or did you just kind of always dabble a little bit in both sides? Where do you think you are on that?
Way later. I was definitely a nerd growing up, and always will be at heart. Read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy books when I was a kid. That's where my nose was the whole time. My first gaming system was Super NES, and I loved that. Probably my favorite game on that, and still is probably, I just recently replayed it, but Zelda Link to the Past, which is also a heavy influencer in the style of games that we do and build and puzzles that we do as well. And as I got older, I remember being in high school playing video games with my friends' little brothers, and that's where I got into Final Fantasy. And yeah, so the health thing came later. I was an adult and got really stressed out and realized that my health was not good and I had to make some life changes. And that's how I got into the yoga and everything else.
Okay, right on, right on. And, on the topic of being healthy, into yoga and everything, uh, to put it bluntly and platonically, you're hot. You're also, a woman. So, as far as you stepping into this realm that can be toxic and, overly male dominated to a fault, uh, would you, and you also said you did a bunch of research when you were trying to make this game. So, do you have any observations, any comment on like where the gaming industry is headed on those kinds of notes?
Right now, I mean, I may be a little bit pessimistic. I think right now a lot of exciting things are happening. There is a lot of, and this is just across the spectrum. There's not anybody that doesn't experience some kind of, you know, moments where someone is looking at them and judging them from their exterior for whatever reason. I feel like people are talking about it now, and there's a large movement. Um, just now, body uh, things are changing in the yoga community. There's a lot of positive things going out, but there's still a lot of negativity out there. You're not going to avoid it. You just kind of have to face it. When you see someone getting pushed out, you've got to say something. And if you're getting pushed out, you can't give up. You got to keep pushing your way in. Otherwise, nothing does change. So as far as, yeah, people talk about there's a lot of misogyny in the gaming industry. Man, that's everywhere. It's everywhere. You're gonna deal with it everywhere. Some places are just a little more open and loud about it. And also with the gaming industry, a lot of that is talking about as well as not just online. I'm gonna just not. We're not even talk about people online. We're gonna talk about like misogyny that you find like in the workplace. Well, my workplace is my partner and I, so we have some misogyny issues. It's not. We got some bigger issues, but I'm like whatever, you know.
I mean, like, at least the gaming industry has gotten better about not so much still objectifying women a good bit, but now they're finally objectifying men. And it is fantastic, some of these. Oh, Skyrim with all them Nordic boys.
I like that. It's nice. I'm 37 years old, so I mean, even seeing games that are directed towards women, and that to me is phenomenal. Like seeing that change, it's really awesome. Um, I'm looking forward to what's happening in the future. More and more female developers are coming out, and the female players are being recognized, and so I think we're heading for good things. But to be honest, I don't think we're going to see any kind of full equality. I'm probably gonna be much older before we see that. But just gotta keep pushing. Don't let the haters, rain on your parade. You just gotta keep marching along. So
I totally get that. And when you talk about uh, games more geared towards, women and everything else like that, I think the great thing about, talking to you is proving that it's not even so much about games that are like geared towards women. It's also just saying like, hey, you liked a lot of video games like growing up and stuff. You talked briefly about Links to the Past. It's not about gender. It's showing that women can be interested and create games too. And on that note, you talked about Link to the Past. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about some other games that inspire you, as well as some games that you may share with your partner and help motivate your guys' creative process.
I will say that one of the coolest things about starting a game company is playing games is research. So that's fun. The style of game, my partner, he's really into the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, inspired by a lot of the games that we're going to be developing. I think we're also going to make them available for the Analog Pocket. But so the games that you're going to see from us, we're going to be, definitely inspired for things like Adventures of Lolo. It's a fantastic puzzle game. Minute is awesome. That one is, you can get it on Switch. It's an indie, and I really like. I put a lot of hours into Baba Is You, and these are all heavily puzzle games, or adventure slash puzzle games, and the style of art is often, or all of them are pixelated, so pixel art, very simple. Those are the things that you're going to probably see from us most. And the idea is that you can make a really awesome game and it doesn't have to be this big production. Things like Breath of the Wild, it is an awesome game and it is stunning, and there's tons of puzzle elements, and it's really phenomenal. But not everybody has 90, 80 hours to invest in a fun game. Some people like work 40, 60 hours, but they still love the game. So, what we like to do is put out good, solid, fun games that can be played in a weekend, fit it in while you're waiting for appointments or whatever else. And kind of help people fit a little bit more fun into their days, you know.
One thing that stands out about what you've talked about so far is a good bit of your stuff you said, are single player or have, multiplayer capacity. But the fact that there's even single player, because I don't have friends. I mean, I think that's a rude assumption to make. There was a time when nerds were solitary people. Damn it, I want it back. Quit expecting me to talk to people. That's why I like your partner. He's introverted. I like it, but the
that was part of the inspiration, was being an introvert, or maybe not having, even just looking at the past couple of years, the pandemic, a lot of people a little bit more isolated. So yeah, we want to make our games, a lot of them, one to, even finding games that are two players, like card games, board games, things like that, even that's difficult. And he's an introvert, and then we also understand the pandemic, we don't do a lot of game nights, and the types of games that we play can be sometimes limited. There aren't a lot of party games. I can think that are a lot of fun anyway to play with two people. But so yeah, we'd like to see a little bit more out there with that. And also the idea too with Dedux is that it is a puzzle game. It is something that exercises the brain, that you can work on for a while. And so, you want to be able to do that by yourself too. Playing with someone else, it adds a level of strategy to it and can actually change the way that you play. But yeah, I think I answered the question.